Welcome back, Defenders. Today's top story, I think, is this. Trump's re-election revives talks in Europe on sending military personnel to Ukraine, specifically the governments of the UK and France. Now, for my European friends, I want to apologize. I apologize as an American because the United States the last 3 years should have been doing more. Russia really should have been defeated by now, but it's been a failure in leadership, a lack of political will, and just too much dithering. And with the uncertainty of Donald Trump returning in 55 days, nobody knows what he's going to do. We need our European partners to be doing more, and this option has always been available. Now, officially, the governments of France and the UK are going to deny these rumors. UK's Lammy dismisses rumors of British troop deployment in Ukraine. But every country in Europe is sovereign, and they can do whatever they want with their military. If Poland or Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Finland, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, the Netherlands, and the UK, if they want to send their military forces to Ukraine to support them, they've always had this option. But I think there's just been this standing around and waiting, hoping that the United States would do more. We had an election, didn't go the way I wanted. Now we don't know what's going to happen in 55 days. So to my European friends, I'm begging you, please send your militaries. They don't have to fight on the front lines, but you can send maintainers, you can send logisticians, you can send trainers, you can send cybersecurity experts. Ukraine needs the back-end support behind the front lines to free up bodies to get them to the front to help hold back the Russians. This option has always been there. We no longer have to worry about escalation management. I guarantee you, the Russians are not going to use a nuclear weapon in the next 55 days. This is Europe's moment of opportunity if they're serious about defeating the Russians, if they actually want to help Ukraine win this war. I understand as an American, we're not going to do this. We're not going to be there for you. But do you want to win? This is the question we're going to have over the next 55 days. But the United States did do something in the last week, finally allowing the approval for the use of ATACMS and Storm Shadows and Scalps deeper into Russia. These are short-range ballistic missiles up to 300 kilometers. And Ukraine reports the destruction of a Russian S-400 system in Kursk. The S-400 surface-to-air system is considered roughly equivalent to the American-made Patriot system. And no, it's not. It failed to shoot down this ATACMS. There's video, and it's been geolocated to this airfield in Kursk. Once again, not even that deep into Russia, but it's just outside of Gimler's range. And the Ukrainians used the ATACMS Block 1 M39 variant. This is the variation of the ATACMS that has cluster munitions inside. So there's less fuel, it doesn't go as far, but there are hundreds of these bomblets that are dropped to scatter across the surface area of the target. There are two very good videos released by the Russians showing the ATACMS strike. The first one, you do see Russia's air defense systems going off, attempting to intercept the ATACMS, and they weren't able to do so. You then see the hundreds of submunitions going off all around the air defense system. This second video is crazy. This is some kind of maintenance crew inside of their truck as the bomblets are falling all around them. They were spared. These Russians are lucky to be alive, but it shows how terrifying what an ATACMS strike with all the submunitions going off actually looks like. This is what the Russian S-400 system looked like before, and this is what it looks like now. It's pretty nasty. Russia did release the pictures of the crew members for the S-400 system who were killed. This was a high-ranking Russian officer, and gone. Gone for nothing. The Russians are pretty upset, and they like releasing the pictures of the ATACMS missile, just so the whole world knows how evil the United States is for foiling their plans of world domination. And sure enough, you can zoom in on the serial sticker, and there it is. Made in the United States. US-made short-range ballistic missiles are destroying air defense systems and airfields inside of Russia. Here we are. A Russian S-400 system was destroyed in Kursk by ATACMS, and no World War III. Who could have foreseen this? Who? This S-400 system was also at an airfield. The airfield was also the target. Ukraine reportedly strikes Russian military airfield in Kursk Oblast with ATACMS for the first time. We can zoom out. I can show you exactly where this is. The city of Kursk is outside of Gimler's range, so Ukraine needed storm shadows or ATACMS to hit this airfield. If they just try and use their own domestically produced drones, I'm guessing Russia's gotten better at shooting those down. I don't know what kind of equipment was parked at the airfield, as far as helicopters or jets, but I'm guessing Ukraine did some damage. We'll find out more in a couple days, I think. And for me, as a content creator making these videos, I'm looking forward to this the next couple weeks. UK supplied Ukraine with dozens more Storm Shadow cruise missiles. I think Ukraine is going to prioritize these Storm Shadows for their bunker busting capability. A lot of Russia's most important leadership, they basically live underground. So there are underground command posts within 300 kilometers of the border that I think Ukraine is going to be targeting with these Storm Shadows. Thank you so much to the government of the UK. I don't want to forget France. I know France also is sending scalps. I just don't think they're as brazen about it, so I appreciate you, Brits. And as far as the rumor that ATACMS and Storm Shadow strikes were going to be limited to Kursk, the first ATACMS use was, or Storm Shadows were used in Bryansk. And I think, once again, it's just about disproving Russia's nuclear threats and the red lines. The rumor is that Ukraine is going to start using ATACMS in the Rostov region. Rostov-on-Don, there's 4 military airfields within ATACMS range, as well as the Southern Military District Command Office. I don't know. I don't know if Ukraine is going to be that bold, and they're going to try and blow it up like they did the Black Sea Fleet headquarters building, but this could happen in the next 2 weeks. As well as that bridge. We kind of stopped talking about that bridge, but maybe Ukraine is just trying to lull Russia into a false sense of security, get them to divert air defense resources, and then surprise attack it. I don't know. The air defense systems around the Kursk Bridge are very good, which is why I think Ukraine is not willing to risk their limited supply to try to bring it down at this time. But it can always get worse for the Russians. NATO supports allowing Ukraine to strike deep into Russia. NATO's Parliamentary Assembly has granted Ukraine explicit support for conducting military operations within Russia's borders. So longer missiles by NATO countries might be approved within the next couple months. The United States has been talking about JASSMs, as well as some lawmakers talking about Tomahawk missiles. But as far as the UK, France, Germany, whoever, Russia's not going to nuke you. They're just not. As long as Ukraine is going after valid military targets in their own self-defense, and the core territory of the Russian state is not being directly threatened, they have no justification, and there's no benefit to using a nuclear weapon anywhere in the world. But Putin is looking forward to January 20th to see what kind of deal Trump might offer him. Putin orders Russian troops to retake Kursk Oblast before Trump's inauguration in 55 days. This is some fierce fighting, and this is a very unusual situation because Ukraine doesn't care about this territory. They're not trying to steal or take any of Russia's territory. The purpose of the Kursk invasion was to make the Russian civilian population feel like the war was coming home to them. I honestly think if Russia had never invaded Kharkiv back in May and June, then all of this approval for strikes inside of Russia or even the Kursk invasion never would have happened. So this was Russia's blunder. But the Russians have been concentrating about 60,000 troops, as well as their North Korean allies, to retake this blob. And this blob of territory now is down to about 600 square kilometers, where if we go back in time a month, you can see Ukraine controlled more. Go back in time another month, Ukraine controlled a little bit more. This is a thorn in the side of Putin. When he talks to Donald Trump on January 20th, he doesn't want this being part of the negotiations. So the Russians are taking horrendous casualties. They are willing to sacrifice any man, any vehicle, any piece of equipment to get rid of this blue blob in the next 55 days. Concerning Trump's transition team, we can't speculate just on what they say. We really only need to look at what they do. But I will comment on incoming National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. Based on his previous statements, I think this guy will be good advising Trump. Trump's top security pick calls for end to escalation in Ukraine. When he says stuff like this, it's not just Ukraine or the West escalating. Russia bringing in 10,000 North Korean soldiers is an escalation. So when you call for an end to escalation, it includes what Russia is doing. The president-elect has been very concerned about the escalation and where it's all going. We need to bring this to a responsible end. We need to restore deterrence, restore peace, and get ahead of this escalation ladder, rather than responding to it. Trump's confident he's going to get a deal, he's going to negotiate. But here's the hypothetical that people in MAGA world are not considering. What if the Russians don't want to talk? What if they don't want a deal? What if they say, these are all of the objectives that we wanted 3 years ago and nothing has changed. We're not going to concede an inch. And this is what they allude to on Russian state TV. Here's a commentator explaining a very common way the Russians are thinking about how this war will end. If we say that no one believes the West, you said it today, what forces us to believe the West can solely guarantee Ukraine's neutrality? The West has fallen into its own trap. It reiterated the following many times. It said that the fate of Ukraine should not be decided without Ukraine. We say yes. So goodbye to the West. We will solve this with Ukraine. Do you understand what I'm hinting at? I understand, but at the same time, we say that Zelensky and his government are illegitimate. Precisely. At some point, we will negotiate between our two Slavic peoples, without the West. This is the only way to achieve peace in this region. If the West is involved, there will be no peace. There will be no Minsk III, etc. We need a new Ukrainian government now, and we'll be able to talk to this new government. This is the Russians saying they're not going to talk to any Western governments. They're going to continue their operation and crush and kill everyone they want to crush and kill, and then replace the government in Kyiv and negotiate with that new pro-Russian government they installed. What the Russians want is the United States just to stop helping. And then without military aid from the United States, Putin thinks he can overtake and get everything he wants maybe within 6 months. So how will Trump respond when the fighting continues and Putin rejects any kind of deals he tries to make? Here's a new character. If you don't know who he is, I'm not going to explain who Sebastian Gorka is. But Trump has nominated him for Director of National Security Policy. And this is how Sebastian Gorka talks about Vladimir Putin, calling him a murderous former KGB colonel and a thug.
I'll give one tip away that the president has mentioned. He will say to that murderous former KGB colonel, that thug who runs the Russian Federation, you will negotiate now, or the aid that we have given to Ukraine thus far will look like peanuts. That's how he will force those gentlemen to come to an arrangement that stops the bloodshed.
That's a pretty strong statement. Let's not get into the backstory of Sebastian Gorka, but on this YouTube channel, I've told you I'm a single issue person. And this debate over the next 55 days before Trump takes office, it's Republican on Republican, MAGA on MAGA. We need to convince MAGA that the Russians are not your friends, and they're never going to be your friends. Here's the hard truth, the hard reality. This is a talking point people need to start repeating. American weapons donated to Ukraine have killed and wounded hundreds of thousands of Russian troops. You can go ahead and say that was a mistake and Biden's a disaster and Biden escalated this, whatever. It doesn't change the fact. American weapons in the hands of Ukrainian soldiers have killed and wounded hundreds of thousands of Russian men. There is no fixing this. Russia is our enemy. Russia's never going to get over this. For the rest of my lifetime, the Russian people are going to hate America for what we have done the last 3 years. And this is the new unholy alliance. Iran, China, North Korea, and Russia are all militarily working together to threaten and weaken their democratic neighbors, to threaten and weaken South Korea, Taiwan, Japan, Finland, Georgia, Mongolia, Kazakhstan, Ukraine. They're working together. And there is no being friends with just one of them. We're never going to flip the Russians and have them be on our side in a war against China. That is delusional thinking that some people in the MAGA world want to entertain, but we need to communicate to these people. The Russians are not your friends. They're never going to be your friends. And these have geopolitical ramifications, how this war in Ukraine goes. And there's no country in the world, or sovereign, independent, self-governing territory, whatever you want to call Taiwan. Taiwan's former president urges the United States to prioritize aiding Ukraine over Taiwan. Taiwan is not some tiny island in the Pacific that is basically irrelevant. It's 23 million people. If Taiwan was a country in Europe or in the European Union, it would only be smaller than Germany, France, Italy, Spain, and Poland. With a population of 23 million, if Taiwan was part of the EU, it would be the 6th largest country ahead of Romania, the Netherlands, Belgium, Sweden, and the Czech Republic. So Taiwan is not insignificant. And this is the former president of Taiwan begging the United States, prioritize Ukraine. If Ukraine can't hold back the Russians, then we'll have no hope of holding back the Chinese in 2 years.
A victory in Ukraine would serve the best deterrence for possible future conflicts. My thought is that they should do whatever they can to help the Ukrainian. We still have time to prepare for ourselves with the rest of the world.
So it's important that the United States continue these weapons to Ukraine, even if, as Admiral Paparo admitted, there might be a little less.
As I said, we still have time. We still have time to get ourselves better prepared, of course, with the help of our friends.
We still have time. We still have time to prevent future wars if Donald Trump is strong enough and chooses to continue militarily supporting Ukraine until the Russians can be defeated. We need the Russians to admit defeat in some way and give up on this war to restore deterrence to this unholy alliance, to deter Iran, to deter North Korea, to deter China. We must deter and stop the Russians today. This is the debate we're currently having. So let's get to the bad news for Russia. Ukrainian drone strikes attack a military plant and oil depot in Russia's Kaluga region. This is southwest of Moscow, and there is a video online. If you want to see another oil refinery / oil depot go up in flames. Fire erupts at Moscow's industrial zone, covering an area of 2,500 square meters. There are videos, but I don't think Ukraine had anything to do with this. This is just Russia being careless and things catching on fire. Let's check in on the dollar to ruble exchange rates. And currently $1 US is now equal to 105 Russian rubles. The Russian ruble has lost 10% of its value in just the last 2 weeks. Russia's in trouble, and it's not going to get better anytime soon. And we got another pipe bursting. This happened in St. Petersburg. A hot water pipe burst because of the cold. Decaying infrastructure, lack of maintenance, whatever. 3 people were injured with burns, and then obviously you can see a lot of steam rising up from under the street. It's only November, and we're going to have another 4 months of brutal winter for the Russians with utility failures. Russians in St. Petersburg and Moscow will be without heat. They will be without running water. They will be without electricity. And nobody's bombing their civilian infrastructure. Russia's just falling apart due to corruption. So here's some polling data. What do people inside of Russia think? And of course, depending on what you think and say, you can go to jail for 7 years. So you always have to be cautious of Russian polling. But at the moment, 53% of Russians are in favor of peace talks, wanting a transition to peace talks. Only 36% of Russians favor continuing a military operation. Now, Russians were asked if Putin signed some kind of peace agreement, would you support that? And 79% said yes. So the blue is people who don't want to fight this war anymore. The red are the people who think Russia's going to win. Gets worse every day. Russian plane evacuated in Turkey as engine catches fire. The Russians have been operating a stolen fleet of jets and planes for the last 3 years. And there's still international terminals like Turkey that accept their flights of stolen planes with lack of proper maintenance and oversight. So yeah, occasionally these planes are going to catch on fire. Anybody flying on these passenger jets has a death wish. This is kind of a big story. Pro-Russian candidate leads first round in Romanian presidential race. I honestly can't say I know too much about Romanian politics, but far-right candidate knocks out pro-Western prime minister in Romania's presidential vote. Upset in Romanian presidential election as pro-Russian candidate surges ahead. Romania is very important because it's on Ukraine's border. Moldova, which just survived their elections with Russian interference, is, sandwiched between Ukraine and Romania. And this pro-Russian candidate came out of nowhere. He was polling at 3 or 4% just a month ago, and apparently he had a very successful campaign run on TikTok and social media and convinced 22% of Romanians to vote for him. And this guy doesn't have a party. He's just his own thing. He's not part of any established party in Romania. He technically came in first, even though only 22% is very far from a majority. But there's going to be a second round of voting in a week, and now your only option is the pro-Russian fascist guy, or the guy who came in second, which is, I think, the Reform candidates, but that person's not as pro-Western or pro-EU as the guy who came in third. I think there's a lot of people in Romania who don't even know who this guy is, because they just voted for the party they normally associate with. As I'm writing this, probably every third Romanian just discovered, upon Googling this guy, that he is openly pro-Russian, openly and unapologetically pro-Iron Guard, which is Romania's World War II fascist movement, violently anti-NATO, anti-EU, and all around terrifying. Elections in a week. I hope he doesn't win, but we've not been doing well in elections recently, guys. So we'll see. Fingers crossed for Romania. Let's hope for him. Let's get to the good news for Ukraine. Ukraine's top energy company to receive $112 million from the EU and the United States to restore their civilian energy industry. Ukraine's drone coalition receives 1.8 billion euros to boost production. This coalition includes 17 member countries, including Australia, Canada, Germany, and Poland. Thank you to all these fantastic countries. Britain imposes largest sanctions package against Russia's shadow fleet of oil tankers. You can always do more sanctions. Thank you so much to the people of the UK. Norway plans to increase aid to Ukraine next year to $2.7 billion. Thank you so much to the Norwegians. All right, let's do an update on the channel fundraiser. We started this Monday of last week, so we're on day 8. And we're currently at $866,000. I'm never going to become desensitized to these astronomically large numbers. Thank you so much to all of you generous people, 9,541 of you. If you're still on the fence whether or not you want to donate, let me share with you another one of these unit videos. This is the 411th separate UAV battalion, the Hawks.
Glory to Ukraine. This is 411th UAV Strike Battalion, and we carry on operations on the Eastern Front right now. This message is addressed to Jake, Broe, and Fund Help 99. We are looking for the pickup truck, and this pickup truck is gonna help us be more effective in our operations. Thanks a lot, and Slava Ukraini!
Героям слава!
Let's get these heroes a truck and some drones. Now, if you've never donated on Help 99's website, click this button down here. And then if you want to kick in $5, $10, or $20, we can supercharge and get this donation done. If you want to write on the donation wall, you can click here, write us a comment. And then I do see these comments. I check this every day, and I want to put in the time to read people's comments and what these fundraisers mean to people who support Ukraine. Here's a donation from Joshua, $114. For our brothers, may the Valkyries carry you to the halls of the fallen. Slava Ukraini. Here's a $250 donation from Marcus for peace in Kharkiv. Here's a $20 donation from Raman, Ukraine strong. Here's a £104 donation from Graham. Our thoughts are always with the brave Ukrainian people who fight so heroically for all of us. Here's a $26 donation from Philip. Keep fighting the Russian thugs. We have to win. Good luck to all the brave fighters. I know not everyone has the financial means to donate. If you're watching this video and you made it this far, thank you so much. You're part of this fundraiser. People who like, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. It's all a group effort. Thank you so much, everyone. Final video I want to share with you is once again Victor Blacksmith. Last month we mentioned his fundraiser and helped him go to Australia to receive a special surgery to get these, I don't know what to call them, pegs, basically fused to his bones so that when he is fitted with prosthetics, he'll have a greater range of motion. But it looks like he finished his therapy in Australia and is now back in Ukraine. So I just want to show you how he's looking.
Итак, в нашому центрі Байрактар сьогодні з Кузнєцом, з Віктором. Супер. Сьогодні у нас буде фотосесія, да, син?
Що? Хлопці багато.
Кавусю, Кавусю. Давай Кавусю поб'ємо. Пішли.
За вами ходить. Так?
Victor's looking good. That's all for this update video. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. If you found this video informative, give me a thumbs up. Best way to support the channel. Comments and questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, keep defending the truth, keep defending democracy.